Silo Season 3 is heating up like a peach cobbler fresh out the oven. Let's talk about some of the symbolism that's baked into the mix. Welcome to Real Enigmas and Theories. Tap that like and hype on your way in, and let's get right to the cook-up. This video will contain spoilers if you're not caught up to Season 3, Episode 4. So let's get into this. Now, if you didn't take the forgetting drug, then you probably remember when George gave Juliet that forbidden travel book about Georgia all the way at the bottom of the silo. That relic was kept by the Flamekeepers. George and Juliet's mothers were both Flamekeepers, and that's how Juliet ended up with that relic from George. And if you didn't take that forgetting drug, I'm sure you remember that old lady Gloria from Season 1 when Juliet showed her that relic when she found her in the long-term care part of the medical while she was being drugged. Yeah, you know the lady that was trying to give Holston's wife fertility counseling? That one. That's Gloria, and she was one of the last known Flamekeepers alongside Ann Wilkins, George's mother. Ann helped Juliet's mother, Hannah Nichols, and the Georgia travel book passed through the Flamekeepers before reaching George and then Juliet. Now, that book represents the old world, forbidden knowledge, and a place that the people inside the silo are not supposed to know exists. Now, most people call that fruit in the opening credits an apple because of the whole Adam and Eve, forbidden knowledge, and Apple TV symbolism. And I get that. But look at the shape of it. Look at that crease in the color. I mean, even in the title credits, you have that part where it shows the peach decomposing and you can see that it turns into a peach pit. You don't see a bunch of apple seeds. You can see the peach pit right here. I mean, even now that we can see the fruit is rotten, to me, it looks more like a peach than an apple. And not only does that thing look like a peach, but peaches keep getting mentioned throughout all 3 seasons of Silo. During Mayor John's funeral in Season 1, we see people biting peaches and apples to throw in the grave at the orchard. And we'll talk about that word orchard later. Solo Jimmy was talking about peaches in Season 2, and I also saw canned peaches in Silo 17. Then in the Season 2 finale, Helen asked Daniel if the Pez dispenser is something from his home state, and Daniel says it's not a peach. I mean, why would he even need to say that? But when you sit down and think about it, Georgia and peaches are being mentioned everywhere inside of this entire story. And I've been on this Georgia trail for a while now, and the more Season 3 gives us, the less Georgia and peaches feel like a random location and fruit choice that they pick for Daniel and Charlotte. The peaches were being planted in the show before we even knew that the people tied to the creation of the silo came from Georgia. Daniel grew up in Cartersville, Georgia. You got that Georgia travel relic, and Daniel was the mascot for the Georgia Bulldogs. He went to University of Georgia, and he even represents Georgia in Congress. Now, the show Silo has presented the idea that humanity has been reduced and the survivors are stored underground. Marriage is regulated, pregnancy needs permission, and birth control is controlled by the government. Certain people are allowed to have children while the other people only think that they're allowed to have children. The pack tells everybody to live, and I bet they get a pretty damn good workout having to navigate the stairs in the silo with no elevators. Now, call me crazy, but all of this connects right back to our real-world Georgia with something called the Georgia Guidestones. The Georgia Guidestones were this giant granite monument outside of Elberton, Georgia. Nobody even really knows who paid for them. The person behind it used the name R.C. Christian, which sounds like a fake name because it was. Now, the stones had instructions for humanity written in multiple languages just in case of a global catastrophe where humans need to rebuild. It instructed to guide reproduction wisely, improve fitness and diversity, protect people through laws and fair courts, balance personal rights with social duties, leave room for nature, and the biggest one was to maintain humanity under 500 million. And the number 500 million is real crazy considering the fact that we have over 8 billion people here in the world. So what happened to the Georgia Guidestones? They were blown up on July 6, 2022. A monument in Georgia that gave instructions about population reduction, controlled reproduction, law, diversity, and rebuilding civilization gets blown off the map on 7/6, 2022. Then, less than a year later, Silo comes through Apple TV showing us 50 underground human storage containers, controlled births, erase history, memory drugs, and a system deciding who gets to reproduce. Now, I've talked about this theory in a previous video, and I've got into it deeper on my live streams, but something about this last episode really jumped out to me. Now, July 6th is a 7/6. And in the last episode, Nurse Amy sends Juliet to the utility closet 76 inside a story about population control, guided reproduction, erased memory, and hidden American history if you really look at it. So that's a crazy connection to the Georgia Guidestones aside from the actual narrative of the show. Juliet gets sent to Closet 76 and the Georgia Guidestones were blew up on a 7/6. So let's move right along. You got Charlotte loses her memory and accidentally calls Daniel Donald. And Daniel was actually Donald in the books, but it was changed by the showrunners because of who is currently in office. But the show intentionally nods to Trump several times as if they don't even want you to forget that. Then when Daniel and Helen go to see Sam at the Pentagon, Sam jokes with Daniel about rigging the election in a state where Trump was actually arrested for something along those lines, right? And then back on episode 1, Daniel tries to get on that Iran commission with Senator Thurmond, and she calls them the hero of New Orleans. And that title immediately points toward Andrew Jackson, whose victory at the Battle of New Orleans turned him into a national hero. But Andrew Jackson later signed the Indian Removal Act, which helped force indigenous nations off their ancestral lands. And Trump has repeatedly praised Andrew Jackson and openly compared the political movement around himself to Jackson's rise against the elite. Now let's bring 76 back into the fold because it definitely points towards 1776, which is the year used to represent the birth of America. And Donald Trump created the 1776 Commission around restoring what he presented as the proper story of America's founding. And we have a show about people being given a manufactured history about how their civilization began. Now, couple that with the fact that Helen is investigating whether or not the government's public war story is a lie concerning Iran and bunker buster missiles while Charlotte is escorting bunker busters to Iran. Just like our current administration is coordinating attacks against Iran. I mean, while we're watching this on the show, we're literally watching it in real time as well. I mean, the meta here is real crazy, but if you want to forget what you heard, just go drink some of your tap water. I don't know, there's enough fluoride and stuff in there that might happen. I don't know. But anyway, Daniel and Charlotte come from Cartersville, and that's right beside the Etowah Native Mound. Then the Forbidden Georgia relic is naming the Blue Ridge Mountains, which were also a part of the real historic Cherokee homeland. Then you have that hero of New Orleans, Andrew Jackson connection that connects to the Trail of Tears. And I think those type of connections are really dope when we're talking about buried civilization. And then all of these indigenous native groups are being brought up and baked symbolically into the script. That's just giving us another dose of buried civilization. Now let's talk about that word orchard because we see one in the title credits, and that's where Mayor John's funeral took place. Now the word orchard comes from the Old English ortgeard, and it means an enclosed garden or cultivated area for fruit trees. Ort means garden, plant, or cultivated life, and geared meaning yard, fence, or boundary or enclosure. And this is heavy work because we're also shown the orchard and given the word safeguard. And ort means cultivated life, but safe being the condition that's created when life is protected, kept whole, or cultivated. And then guard meaning to protect something or someone. It could also mean a person who watches over a place or a safety device, which functionally takes us back to the word geared for the word orchard. So we have orchard, geared, and safeguard. Now, we know that the safeguard does not keep the people safe, and that pipe can kill everyone in the silo. So what is it actually safeguarding? If one silo learns too much, communicates with the other silo, or stops following the plan, the entire crop can be destroyed before it spreads the problem to other silos. That would mean that the safeguard is meant to protect the overall project and not the people in each individual silo. And we know that the system doesn't care about the people or memories inside of the bodies. It just cares about the bodies. Now, Dr. Sirkovich explained that memory can live inside of the body. And if the memories taint the body, then the safeguard is to help take care of that. So you have two fail safes, actually. You have the pipe that can deliver the poison and the water that can deliver the forgetting drugs. And Robert Sims is starting to understand that there's not really much difference in either one of them. Yes, his son could still be alive and have no memory of him, so that would make him essentially dead to him. And if this stuff is put into the water, the whole silo could survive, but none of the relationships that made it a community would even exist anymore. So it would just be a bunch of blank bodies in a silo where human seeds are stored. I mean, the title of the show's been sitting there the whole time, and the opening credits have hinted that from day one. And this is where the Georgia Guidestones line about improving fitness and diversity matches the show entirely. Now let's look at the population inside Silo 18. There's a wide spectrum of human phenotypes inside the closed population that's been underground for 300 years, and the diversity is being preserved on purpose, with the birthing being controlled with a rigged lottery. And that brings us right back to chosen people. Charlotte was chosen for the mission. Charlotte chose Helen to give the information to. A shadow is chosen to learn the secrets of an office. Juliet was chosen to become sheriff. Camille was chosen by the voice because she can lie. The whole story is built around people being chosen for a role. Then we have that symbol near the entrance showing 12 people with their arms raised, forming a 12-point star between their legs. And I'm not saying that that automatically means that the 12 symbolism is tied to the 12 tribes of Judah or 12 tribes of Israel, but 12 has always been tied to chosen people when you're talking about government, apostles, and tribes all over different cultures. And this number is very significant because you have the 12 people that make the 12-point star, and the silo has 144 levels, which 12 times 12 is 144. So we have 12 people forming a symbol at the entrance of a structure with 144 levels. And that's enough for me to keep the whole chosen population theory on the board, because the people who are allowed to reproduce is chosen, and the seeds from the original silo entries were chosen as well. Then we have this other symbol, which is the tree symbolism, which ties us right back into the orchard. And you have this spiral that connects to cycles, DNA, reproduction, descent, memory, and humanity going through the same reset over and over again, a spiral. And these symbols are placed right at the entrance or exit. The first people entering the silo would have seen them, and the cleaners that are going out would see them as well. So these symbols sit at both ends of the system while they're sitting in the same place, which makes that whole thing a ritual doorway, complete with the symbolism that fits the function of the actual airlock. I wonder if the people walking into the silo for the very first time took notice that there was a jail cell or a holding cell right there at the entrance. And that has to make you look at how much of the system had to be planned from the beginning. The holding cell is sitting right beside the airlock, so the cleaning system was built into the entrance. So they had the whole cleaning punishment set up before the silos were even finished. And we already know that the memory drug existed before the silos. You have the reproduction system, the fake lottery, the restrictions on history, marriage, and childbirth. All of this was a part of the actual blueprint before the silos even existed. So what happened to those first people who entered? Did they walk in knowing the truth? Did they agree to this project? Or did the organizers drug them, erase their memories, and give them the pact? So what do you think about the Georgia Guidestones symbolic blueprint for the silos? And do you think that the fruit at the opening credits is actually a peach or an apple? What do you think of Closet 76 and the Guidestones being blown up on 7/6 less than a year before the show Silo came out? It's almost like somebody said, look, man, we got the show coming out. We got to get rid of these goddamn Guidestones. Somebody's going to see something. Nah, but if you like this video, go ahead and do all that dope YouTube stuff and send this to somebody who watches the show. And if you're not subscribed yet, hopefully this will be the video to make you do it. That's all for the video this evening. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.